Alright, so today we had another weekly Warriors Den live stream, and this week they showed off what's in the game right now in this latest batch of testing grounds. This one was a long awaited one for many people, as not only did Orochi and Raider get some changes, but Shinobi finally got some love and received a whole lot of changes. This testing grounds also introduces changes to option selects that should pretty much take them out of the game. We've got quite a bit to go over today. As usual, I'll boil everything down. I'll try to be quick and just deliver info for you guys in this video, and then I'll post another video in a few days with my thoughts and feedback on the changes after I've played with everything. As always, if you watch this channel somewhat regularly, I'd really appreciate it if you sub to the channel, as it really helps me out. Now let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Real fast, before we talk about testing ground stuff, let's start off with the roadmap for July. Today is, of course, the testing grounds and new content of the week. Next Thursday, we'll see some more content of the week, followed by a loot fest on top of the Covenant games, which will feature the Carousel of Horkos. On the 10th, there's a qualifier for the Dominion series, followed by another content drop, then another qualifier, and finally, on the 22nd is Title Update 2, which will bring the new hero and new armor variants. That's what a whole lot of us are waiting for, and it'll be here before you know it. Then rounding out the end of the month, we've got more content of the week, the 3rd Dominion Series qualifier, and an XP Fest heading into August. It's a pretty packed month for For Honor. Now let's get into the hero changes in this testing grounds, starting off with Raider, who had the least amount of changes of the 3 heroes. From the top, we've got Storming Tap. Storming Tap has been sped up to 400 milliseconds. It's no longer interrupted on a non-superior block. This will allow him to continue pressuring his opponents whether they block the Storming Tap or not, and it no longer has variable timing as a soft feint, meaning it will always come out at the same time when it's being soft feinted from heavies. On top of this, it deals different damage depending on whether or not it was used from a dodge attack or a soft feint. Next up, Armor. Hyper Armor. Armor will now always start at feint timing. This should allow Raider to still trade with people, but won't allow him to get hit while attempting a trade and then feint and then guard break as their opponent is recovering. Zone received one change. No matter how he uses Zone, from neutral or chained, it will cost 12 stamina, so now we can watch Raider spin more often. And lastly, a few other moves were sped up. Stampede Charge is now 500 milliseconds rather than 600. Top Chain Lights will always be 500 milliseconds rather than 600 for the second Chain Light, and 700 for the finisher, which was pretty much a free parry. And his top heavy finisher is now 900 milliseconds rather than 1000. And that will do it for Raider's changes. It's not a huge list, but he will be better, especially with the option select changes. Next up, Orochi. According to Yubi, Orochi's changes aim to improve the performance of him in 1v1 situations, as well as in group fights where the hero is currently struggling. Starting off, Orochi can now cancel any recovery other than a dodge attack with a dodge. This is helpful in of itself, but it allows Orochi to use some of his newer stuff more often as well. And by newer stuff, I mean the changes to Storm Rush and his new kick. So the kick is a 500 millisecond forward dodge bash that we're all used to by now. It can be performed 300 milliseconds into the dodge and can be delayed up until 500 milliseconds. After landing a kick, Orochi can confirm a combo light. I will admit, the kick isn't too pretty, but it's a bash. Something else Orochi can do after a front dodge now is Storm Rush. So Orochi can now Storm Rush from a front dodge or back dodge. On top of this, all 3 sides are now 600 milliseconds with a 400 millisecond indicator. All 3 sides are also undodgeable now, and the entire process of Storm Rush costs less stamina, 12 to enter and 10 to feint. A few other dodge attacks for Orochi got buffed as well. Riptide Strike has received its 3rd change. It's now 500 milliseconds and has 300 milliseconds of iframes and is no longer interrupted on non-superior block. His side and front dodge lights also are no longer interrupted on non-superior blocks. And for the final few changes, Orochi no longer has a light finisher, and every opener that isn't a bash guarantees a combo light, which is that fast guaranteed second light we've seen on his top light. His side heavy finishers have larger trajectories and move forward more, which will help him in team fights and defending himself in ganks. And lastly, his deflect now has one option. The Hurricane Blast, which was the heavy follow-up, has been removed, and the Wind Gust has been changed a bit. After it lands, it guarantees a combo light and lets Orochi apply more pressure. And that does it for Orochi. I'm looking forward to playing with him. I'm hoping that this is enough to get me to really put some time into him. Now on to the big one, Shinobi. So Shinobi received quite a few changes. I'm going to condense this down because there's a lot, beginning with the removal of ranged attacks. Now, he does keep one ranged attack. It's the ranged heavy, but they can only be used after a kick or a backflip and is now considered a bash. But the charged ranged heavy and the ranged guard break is gone. He won't be poking people outside of fights or ranged guard breaking people near a ledge or anything like that anymore. Next up, Shinobi can now do a kick after a single dodge as well as a double dodge. Doesn't matter if it's a front dodge or a side dodge. Now, Sickle Rain is something we'll be seeing a lot of if all the Shinobi changes go through. So Sickle Rain will be accessible a lot of the time. Afterlight finishers, combo lights, single light, roll, even guard break. It's now unblockable from the top, which will be 800 milliseconds, and from the left and right sides, it will be undodgeable. Sickle Rain was something that Yubi was really pushing as pretty much the center of Shinobi's kit. All roads lead to Sickle Rain was something they coined during the reveal stream. I played a little bit of Shinobi before recording this, and he's a lot of fun. There's a lot of Sickle Rain. Next up, front roll and backflip. So as I said, front roll now chains into Sickle Rain. It can be used after a backflip, it can be target swapped, and it chains into flip kick earlier. Flip kick now guarantees a combo heavy hit on well, which is a new attack that also chains into Sickle Rain. As for backflip, it can now only be used after any landed attack other than a ranged heavy. So it's a little bit harder to get into now. Shinobi also has a new sprint attack. That sliding kick has been replaced by a different bash. It's like a cartwheel front flip bash. It doesn't knock opponents over like the slide, and it chains into a combo heavy, which of course chains into Sickle Rain. Lastly, deflects. So the deflect is no longer automatic. To do the teleport, you have to press guard break to teleport, or you can chain into a heavy finisher. If you decide to teleport, the follow-up kick is not guaranteed, but if you land the kick, you get a guaranteed ranged heavy. And lastly, for real this time, Shadow Strike, which is the parry follow-up, chains to teleport kick or Sickle Rain. Shinobi plays much differently now. I'm actually looking forward to trying him out more than Orochi. There are so many things to do with him now, and I know it'll all feel really rewarding once we get used to using him. I'm not really looking forward to being on my knees all the time while going up against him, but it is fun using him, I will not lie. Finally, option selects. If everything is working properly, option selects are gone. All of them should be gone, including zone option select. After reading through the last blog post, we all knew the more problematic ones would be axed. We were on the fence about zones, but it seemed like they would go as well, and here we see that they are gone during the testing grounds. During the reveal stream, it looked like a lot of people weren't really picking up on what Yubi was putting down when it came to zone option selects to parry, so I'll boil it down really fast. If you go into the live game right now and go to training, set the bot to throw a heavy attack. Rather than pressing heavy to parry when that attack is coming your way, use your zone attack instead on parry timing. Rather than throwing out the zone attack, you will parry. If you set the bot to feint the heavy or feint to guard break, and you do the exact same thing, you press zone on parry timing, you'll throw out a zone rather than parry. You can see where this is useful against something like unblockables, because if your opponent throws an unblockable attack at you, you could zone option select. If they let it fly, you parry it. If they feinted to guard break, you'd stuff their guard break, hit them with the zone. Whereas if you pressed heavy to parry, the feint to guard break would catch you. Now, zone option select wasn't unbeatable or anything. If your opponent knew you were going to do it, they could punish you for it. They could deflect your zone or parry it or hit you with a superior block or dodge. You get it. Anyways, with this testing grounds, if you were to try and use a zone to parry, you just throw out the zone. It won't parry, it will not cover both options, it will always zone. This is a pretty big change, and as soon as I'm finished with this video, I can't wait to try this out even more, as it will affect so many things from duels to team fights. And that's pretty much it for this round of testing grounds. There's a lot to test out. We've only got a week to play around with things, so play as much as you can before it's over, and be sure to leave your feedback everywhere that you can see it. There's a survey in the pinned post of the For Honor subreddit that you should definitely do after you're finished playing with the testing grounds. That's all I've got for this video. As always, if you liked the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the